Hello again and welcome to Edgemont AMA. I'm Pastor Henry. I'm glad you have joined us for this time where we hear a question and then I take a little bit of time to respond to it. Got the outdoors back. The weather's not trying to destroy us here in Alabama. This week we had a little bit of a break in the heat, so that's really nice. Today our question is, even though God knows that I love Him, knows my thoughts, why do I have to show that? Is it mandatory? And this is a question that gets into a lot of different things, because we believe that God knows what's going on in our world, knows what's going on in us, can see into us even when we try to hide it. So why do we have to do things like go to church and show that we are living for Him? And there's a few different ways that we can answer that, and I want to do that through a series of scriptures. So it's kind of one of those things. Yes, it's mandatory. Yes, it's absolutely what we need to do. But there's some specific reasons why, and there's also ways to not do it. First, I want to look at Luke chapter 9, verses 23 through 26. And this is Jesus talking. It says, "Then he said to all of them, 'Whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves and take up their cross daily and follow me. For whoever wants to save their life will lose it, but whoever loses their life for me will save it. What good is it for someone to gain the whole world and yet lose or forfeit their very self? Whoever is ashamed of me and my words, the Son of Man will be ashamed of them when he comes in his glory and in the glory of the Father and of the holy angels.'" So Jesus says that, part of us living the life that He's called us to is living by His teachings and showing people by the way that we live our lives, by, worshiping Him, loving God, loving neighbor, doing those different things that we do, coming to church, studying, praying. That's how we show who we are. Show that we are not ashamed of Jesus, that we are not ashamed of the gospel. And if you think about it, that makes a lot of sense. If you are in relationship with someone, but you do everything possible to not show that you're in relationship with them, that's not a really good relationship, is it? So I think that's critical for our relationship with God, and it's critical for that to be seen, because that's how people can know who God is. Jesus gave this word to His disciples in John chapter 13, verses 34 and 35. He says, "A new command I give you, love one another. As I have loved you, so you must love one another. By this everyone will know you are my disciples, if you love one another." So that public display of love, which is a way that we're able to worship God, when we're loving God with all that we have, when we're loving our neighbors as ourselves, we are living that love for the world to see, and people can come to know God through that. There's that almost that evangelism piece that's built into that, and so that's critically important that we live that way, because that's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to show people that there's a better way, that following God is a better way to do life in our world. Now, with that being said, it's also very important, as we do so as an example to people, that we don't let that become the point, because that's a danger. That's the shadow side of this, if you will, if we get caught up in that piece of it. In Matthew chapter 6, beginning in verse 5, we read, "And when you pray, do not be like the hypocrites, for they love to pray standing in the synagogues and on the street corners, and to be seen by others. Truly I tell you, they have received their reward in full. But when you pray, go into your room, close the door, and pray to your Father who is unseen. Then your Father, who sees what is done in secret, will reward you. And when you pray, do not keep on babbling like pagans, for they think they will be heard because of their many words. Do not be like them, because your Father knows what you need before you ask them." So what that passage is talking about there is people who were both trying to manipulate the world by showing, "Hey, I've got such a great, wonderful relationship with God. Hey, look at me, I'm about to be holy before God." No, that's not the answer. And God is also not to be manipulated. So it's not like we have a punch card. For every 10 times we go to church, on that 11th time, we get an extra star in our crown, or whatever. God is not there to be manipulated, and our public display of love and worship of God is not meant to go out there just to build ourselves up in the public eye. If we're doing it that way, we're doing it for the wrong reasons. I think the main reason why it's so important for us to show love to God, it is really simple, and it's in Psalm 149, verse 4. It says, "For the Lord takes delight in his people. He crowns the humble with victory." The Lord takes delight in his people. The Lord, our God, God the Father, takes delight in us. He takes delight in you. That is such a beautiful understanding of our relationship. It actually reminds me of one of my favorite movies and TV series, the movie Firefly, the TV show Firefly, and the movie Serenity. I loved that show. One of the beautiful things at the ending of that movie Serenity, there's a scene between two characters, and one of them is clairvoyant, can hear other people's thoughts, and one of the other characters is about to say something, and he says to the clairvoyant character, "Well, I guess you know what I'm about to say, don't you?" And she says back, "Yes, I do, but I like to hear you say it." The way we live our lives, the way we go about and do things, the internal monologue in our head, God knows whether we love him or not, if we're living our lives in a way that shows that we love him or not. But God, like any parent who delights in their child, loves nothing more than to hear his people say, "I love you. I'm thankful to be with you." So that's just a beautiful gift that we can give to God. Yes, it's important to live that way for the world, but think about the God who loves us, who sent his son to live here with us to repair our relationship, delights in us. It's a privilege that we get to say that we delight in him and that we love him. So it's not one of those things, it's not a have to me, it's a get to. So let's take advantage that we get to worship God and say that we love him. I'd love to hear if you have any thoughts to share on this topic. So if you want to, please drop a question or comment. Love for you to like and share this video, and we'll catch you next time.